Hi, this is New Time on Silk Way TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with the opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and the world. I am Nurbek Machani and this is what you'll see today. In Washington, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev joins his Central Asian counterparts for a historic C5+1 summit, a meeting with the US president that reshapes the region's partnership with America. In New York, a political shakeup, 34-year-old democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani wins the mayoral race, sending ripples far beyond America's borders. What could be a lesson learned for Central Asia? As the US and China pause their tariff feud, a new rivalry heats up, the global race for dominance in artificial intelligence. Who is leading the charge and where does Kazakhstan fit in? We begin with the main political event of the week that took place in Washington, D.C. Presidents of the United States and Central Asian nations gathered for the C5+1 Leaders Summit, a meeting experts describe as a historic and defining. They say it marks a new stage in the evolving dialogue between the region and the US, underscoring Washington's renewed focus on Central Asia's economic development and security agenda. Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev was among the key participants. My colleague Erghali Ramazanov reports on the main outcomes.
President Tokayev's visits to the United States are always marked by an intense schedule and substantive discussions, and this one was no exception. The visit began with a meeting with the founders of Kazakh IT startups entering global markets. The event brought together representatives of more than 20 companies with a combined valuation of $1.4 billion, demonstrating the rapid growth of Kazakhstan's tech ecosystem. These projects received strong recognition from the head of state, reaffirming the country's commitment to advancing technological innovation. The day continued with a series of high-level meetings with U.S. congressmen, senators and representatives of major American companies, early negotiations and already tangible results for the benefit of Kazakhstan's development. A strategic partnership agreement worth $2.5 billion was signed with John Deere. The company plans to localize the production of agricultural machinery in our country in partnership with a domestic manufacturer.
We highly value John Deere's leadership in agricultural innovation and technology. We are very much committed to having further cooperation and close links with your company. The record of our cooperation is quite positive. I just was updated that we have already purchased quite more than 2,000 John Deeres. So the plan is to buy 3,000 more. I would like to assure you that the government of Kazakhstan and personally I, as president of Kazakhstan, will be absolutely positive to what you are doing in Kazakhstan. So the long-standing presence of John Deere on our market, I think that meets up our interests.
This was followed by talks with U.S. President Donald Trump. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev expressed support for his peace initiatives, including the Route for International Peace and Prosperity, aimed at boosting connectivity through the Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor. In turn, President Trump reaffirmed Washington's commitment to expanding its strategic partnership with Kazakhstan. Our country has also announced its intention to join the Abraham Accords, a move aimed at contributing to dialogue, reducing confrontation, and supporting international law in line with the UN Charter. Akorda emphasized that this decision does not affect Kazakhstan's bilateral commitments with any state, but rather reflects the country's consistent multi-vector diplomacy in favor of peace and security.
I just held a great call between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel and President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is the first country of my second term to join the Abraham Accords, the first of many. This is a major step forward in building bridges across the world. Today, more nations are lining up to embrace peace and prosperity through my Abraham Accords. We will soon announce a signing ceremony to make it official, and there are many more countries trying to join this club of strengths. So much more to come in uniting countries for stability and growth. Real progress, real results. Blessed are the peacemakers.
The highlight of the visit was the Central Asia-United States Summit, where President Tokayev emphasized that the potential of economic cooperation between Kazakhstan and the US across key sectors such as energy, critical minerals, industry, transport, finance, AI and education exceeds $500 billion. The head of our states invited American companies to take advantage of the unique opportunities available in Kazakhstan and assured investors of his full and personal support.
I highly appreciate your unwavering support to advancing Kazakh-American multifaceted cooperation. As early as in your first term in the White House, our relations have been legally fixed as enhanced strategic partnership. The United States is the largest investor with over $100 billion in our economy as its perpetuum mobile. Our trade turnover has doubled in recent years and is approaching $5 billion. We cover almost 25% of America's domestic uranium demand. Kazakhstan has become a home country for 600 American companies.
President Trump also hinted at visiting Kazakhstan in the future. This would make him the first American leader to do so.
I think it's very possible that we'll do that. And I think all of those are very important items when you think of it, right? It's you never know from year to year. One becomes more important than the other, but they're all important. And your country has great natural resources and a great president, very great president.
Kassym-Jomart Tokayev noted that the C5+1 summit marks the beginning of a new era of cooperation between Central Asia and the United States. The visit concluded with the signing of commercial agreements between Kazakhstan and the US worth over $17 billion, which is seen as a tangible outcome reflecting the growing strategic partnership between the two nations. Yergali Ramazanule, New Time.
At the C5+1 summit in Washington, Central Asia's growing role as a major transit hub took center stage, with Kazakhstan emerging as a key link in the Middle Corridor, viewed by the White House as a stable route. Experts say the format may soon expand to include South Caucasus nations, Azerbaijan, Georgia and Armenia, as a natural extension of this trade corridor. US companies, meanwhile, are also looking to strengthen the region's logistics networks through innovation, from digital tracking system as to AI-driven solutions aimed at making trade more transparent and secure. Right after the summit, my colleague Balzhan Samigulina spoke with assistant professor from Nazarbayev University to discuss this and other results of the meeting. Here are some highlights.
Professor Nafi, thank you very much for joining us as we follow right now the immediate aftermath of the C5+1 meeting in Washington between the Central Asian leaders and American President Donald Trump. How do you think, with now new place of Central Asia in the foreign policy of the United States, do you think Central Asia function as an economic partner right now more with a geopolitical pivot for the United States?
I think right now the U.S.'s main focus for Kazakhstan is definitely economics. As we've already seen in the past few hours, the U.S. has signed an MOU with Kazakhstan specifically aimed at critical minerals, a key part of a supply chain issue that they have been trying to relieve over the past few months. So I think they're really trying to push Kazakhstan into an economic push. Also with transportation issues, I know that the U.S. has already been involved a lot with working with Kazakhstan in the more geopolitical sphere, but also as is trying to get goods from one place to the other and trying to make sure supply chains are working. So there's a really big push economically, both as a geopolitical economic partner, but also as a supply chain partner.
Yes, now we have agreements reached up to $17 billion in different fields, including the critical raw materials. How do you think where these agreements will go on and how it will be impactful for Kazakhstan in particular?
Well, it's definitely going to push more of the resource extraction part in Kazakhstan. We already foresaw this coming. The fact is the U.S. needs these materials, and I think the critical minerals are, at least for right now, going to be the main focus. However, there are agreements already in place with the U.S. and Kazakhstan in terms of digital interactions, as well as for transportation and export of goods from the U.S. into Kazakhstan for things like trains and for freight industry.
What next step do you think Washington will take in our region, especially during the presidency of Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, there's still stuff going on this weekend, so I imagine there's going to be more talks in the area. I know there's more development in the area of transportation. There's the potential for the aviation industry. I think there's also a lot more digital that we're going to see. There's a lot more work. Amazon's invested now in Kazakhstan, and so there's an entire digital infrastructure that I know President Tokayev is pushing very, very hard these days, and I think Washington is very receptive to it in some of their ideas, and so I think you might see the potential for more work in terms of, Kazakhstan wants to build a center for data and AI, and I think that Washington's going to play a big role in sort of training and helping development here, and it's going to also help the U.S. So I feel like that's going to be the other big area. So critical minerals and digital spaces, as well as transportation, but I wouldn't really call that a new space that the U.S. has been involved in Kazakhstan.
If to look at the results of this summit, as well as two side meetings between President Trump and President Tokayev, I think it's a quite win-win for both sides. And how would you highlight the results of these meetings in Washington right now? What's the biggest diplomatic win for Kazakhstan?
I think this is a win for Kazakhstan's ability to keep their critical mineral industry spread out across countries. It's a big win for a country that's looking to invest a lot of money and to take a lot of money and to pay a lot of money to Kazakhstan for these minerals. So there's a lot of benefits that Kazakhstan's going to take from it. So I think for Kazakhstan, they're like, this is a great opportunity to build a relationship that may have been seen as kind of waning, since, previously was strongly security related, with most of the economic reliance on the Tengiz-Chevroil deal. And so this is rebuilding back up those economic relationships. The U.S. had fallen out of top #1 investment in Kazakhstan over the last couple years. And I foresee that Kazakhstan sees this as a win, as growing that relationship, having this, you have U.S., you have Europe, have China, as well as Russia, who's been a long-term partner of the country. So for Kazakhstan's long-term foreign policy goals and economic goals, I think this was definitely a win. The U.S. also sees it as a win in being able to collect the critical minerals that they're in need of to deal with these long-term supply chain issues that they foresee coming in the near future. So this is all around, a win-win situation for both countries. But I feel like Kazakhstan, if everything comes to plan and that we're already seeing these deals happen, I think in the long term, Kazakhstan has a lot of potential to gain from this relationship.
Kazakh, as well as American officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, said that this is a new era of relations between the U.S. and Kazakhstan, as well as Central Asia. But there is still a Bannick amendment still going on toward Kazakhstan. How do you think it will be cancelled in American Senate soon?
Well, with this growing relationship, I think there's the potential to see it canceled. This is actually not the first time it's come up. It's happened.
There has been proposals.
Yeah, there's been proposals multiple times. I think there's a realization that some of these sort of older policies based on historical relations are long overdue to be repealed. So, and there's also there's a new understanding and a new of both Kazakhstan and maybe the Central Asian region as a whole. So I think we're going to see those shifts happen. And hopefully from this, we're going to see that repealed finally.
Yes, last but not least, now analysts suggest if Donald Trump will be coming to Kazakh with his visit. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, we'll see. I would be very interested to see him actually come to Kazakhstan. I think this leads a lot of potential. Like I said, the U.S. has a great need for these critical minerals. And if this relationship grows the way it is and they do what Trump wants him to do, it's very possible he might make a trip here in order to really solidify this growing relationship.
Thank you very much, Professor Nafi, for joining us.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced plans to visit all 5 Central Asian nations next year. He made this statement during a meeting with the foreign minister of C5 countries in Washington, D.C. earlier this week. Speaking at a reception at the State Department, Rubio emphasized that the interests of the United States and the region align, particularly in developing natural resources and diversifying the economies together. At the same time, Republican Senator James Rich said he intends to introduce a bill in the Congress to repeal the Cold War-era Jackson-Vanik Amendment, noting that Central Asia has not received the attention it deserves from Washington.
Our national interests are aligned. From our perspective, we are looking for opportunities for American innovation and American business and American products to expand to more markets and more places, because we think that creates stronger ties between countries. From your perspective, you are looking to take the resources, both your people and natural resources, that God has blessed your nations with, and turn them into responsible development that allow you to diversify your economies. And I think it's an exciting opportunity and a new era in our relationship in Central Asia.
Central Asian countries have been stepping up their international engagement this week, taking part in Washington C5+1 summit, strengthening partnerships and expanding cooperation beyond the region. To break down Central Asia's big stories this week, we are joined by political analyst Uzhet Shegerbayev.
Thank you, Nurbek. It's a pleasure to join you and share some insights.
Likewise, Uzhet. So let's dive right in. What did you find most noteworthy about Central Asia's diplomatic activities this week?
Well, Nurbek, several major developments really stood out. The region has seen both high-level meetings and symbolic visits that reflect Central Asia's growing visibility on the global stage. So, the Central Asian countries continue to actively develop the Central Asia Plus cooperation format. Earlier in this week, the Chinese city of Qingdao hosted the second meeting of the Central Asia-China Political Parties Dialogue under the topic Advancing Common Modernization through High-Quality Development, Political Parties in Action. The event brought together around 150 participants, including leaders of more than 20 political parties from the 5 Central Asian countries and China. One of the key topics discussed was environmental governance. Participants emphasized that no country today can tackle down environmental challenges alone. Leaders of political parties underlined that ecological threats know no borders and require coordinated joint actions. They also highlighted that active exchanges of experience and the collective search for effective solutions are particularly vital in today's interconnected world. Another issue that drew considerable attention was the acceleration of green economy development. Overall, it should be noted that beyond intra-Central Asian cooperation, the Central Asia plus China format is one of the most institutionalized frameworks of the engagement. For instance, back in March last year, the Central Asia Plus Secretariat Office was established in Xi'an city of China, and a wide range of thematic meetings, such as those focused on trade and legal cooperation, are now held on a regular basis. Ahead of the C5+1 summit with the United States, the leaders of Central Asian countries participated in a series of major international summits. For instance, President of Uzbekistan, Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, attended the World Summit on Social Development, which was held in Doha, the capital of Qatar. During his address, President Mirziyoyev proposed the establishment of a global fund for social justice. According to him, this new mechanism would provide practical assistance to countries in their fight against poverty. He noted that Uzbekistan has successfully reduced the poverty rate from 35% to 6.6% in recent years, a more than five-fold decrease, and emphasized that reforms in this area will continue. At the same time, he called for greater international cooperation to address global social challenges and underscored the importance of adopting modern mechanisms to tackle down employment issues. He pointed out that the rapid development of high technologies and artificial intelligence is leading to the loss of millions of jobs, highlighting the need for stronger cooperation among governments, businesses, and civil society to support workers. Additionally, the President of Uzbekistan proposed to hold the next Global Alliance Forum on combating hunger and poverty in Uzbekistan. Continuing with the World Summit on Social Development, President of Tajikistan, Mr. Emomali Rahmon, also took part in this event. In his speech, he emphasized that social well-being is a foundation for peace, stability and sustainable development. He noted that Tajikistan is currently implementing the national strategy for the development of social protection until 2040, aimed at further strengthening the country's social sector. President Rahmon also underlined the need for decisive measures to improve access to vulnerable countries to financial resources and ensure sustainable financing, particularly for social services and climate adaptation projects. In addition to the summit, President Rahmon held bilateral meetings with Emir of the State of Qatar and several major companies. The discussions focused on Qatari investments in Tajikistan's hydropower projects and the development of renewable energy in the country. Cooperation in labor, migration, culture, science, education and tourism was also discussed. In addition to his meeting with the Qatari Emir, President Rahmon also held discussions with Pakistan's President, Mr. Asif Ali Zardari. The two leaders discussed the development of a strategic partnership and agreed to establish a strategic dialogue council to strengthen bilateral cooperation. Meanwhile, President of Kyrgyzstan, Mr. Sadir Japarov, made an official visit to the Arab Republic of Egypt earlier this week at the invitation of President Mr. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. During the visit, President Japarov held high-level talks with President el-Sisi, where they discussed current issues of bilateral cooperation and exchanged views on regional and international agendas. Following the negotiations, a number of bilateral documents were signed in the fields of economy, agriculture, investments, energy and healthcare, laying the foundation for the further development of Kyrgyz-Egyptian relations. And it's important to note that this marks the first official visit to Egypt in the history of Kyrgyz-Egyptian relations. At the same time, Tajikistan is becoming a venue for a contest of the brightest young minds in maths. From November 5 to 10, Dushanbe is hosting the Omar Khayyam International Mathematics and Informatics Olympiad. This event brings together students from CIS countries and across all Eurasian continent, who will showcase their knowledge and skills in the exact sciences, including maths and computer sciences. The Olympiad is named after Omar Khayyam, the world-renowned scholar, philosopher, poet, and thinker who made groundbreaking contributions to algebra, astronomy, and philosophy. Well, that's it for today. Nurbek, giving the floor back to you.
Thank you, Ajit, for your highlights of this week. We'll be back with other news in a few seconds. Now moving on, New York, the largest city in the United States, has elected a new mayor, 34-year-old Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani, who will take office on January 1st. According to the results, Mamdani secured half of the votes, while his rivals, Independent Democrat Andrew Cuomo and the Republican Curtis Sliwa, received 41% and 7% respectively. What began as a local political race quickly turned into a global spectacle, drawing attention far beyond America's borders. Yergali Ramazanoglu explains why.
New York City is celebrating. They have chosen their mayor and with him a hope for a new tomorrow. 2026 will mark a new era in the biggest city in the States, as it will be led by Zohran Mamdani, a new figure in the Democratic Party and in American politics overall. An immigrant born in Uganda, Mamdani moved to New York City with his family at the age of 7. But 2 more decades would pass before Mamdani finally became an American citizen. Before embarking on a political journey, the mayor-elect worked as a social consultant in Queens, helping tenants facing eviction, an experience that sparked his passion for fighting for ordinary people's rights. He was also actively expressing himself through the art of rap.
Go ahead, make a rap for your nanny. It's a rap. Get the guap, spin a rack on your nanny. Come through, give a dap to your nanny. If you really feeling good, spin a track for your nanny.
In 2021, Mamdani became a member of the New York State Assembly for the 36th District. 3 years later, he announced his candidacy for mayor and, to the surprise of many, won the Democratic primary against former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who had served roughly 10 years in office and resigned amid a high-profile misconduct scandal. In the general election, Mamdani defeated Cuomo, running as an independent, and Republican Curtis Sliwa, becoming the first Muslim and first Indian origin mayor of New York City, and at 34, the youngest in over a century. True to his roots and political beliefs, Zoran Mamdani used his victory speech to recognize the many communities that keep New York thriving, among them Central Asian professionals.
Thank you to the next generation of New Yorkers who refuse to accept that the promise of a better future was a relic of the past. Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. We won because New Yorkers allowed themselves to hope that the impossible could be made possible. And we won because we insisted that no longer would politics be something that is done to us. Now it is something that we do.
Meanwhile, New Yorkers are looking forward to change, and that's exactly what Mamdani promised throughout his campaign, in a way that was simple and easy for everyone to understand. Rather than presenting complex, multi-step programs, he focused on one issue that matters most to every resident, making New York an affordable place to live.
This is the first mayor that I'm excited to see come to the city. We've had so much status quo for so long. It's just over and over the same kind of thing. It's just a nice breath of fresh air. It feels like a changing of the guard for real this time.
As a Albanian American born in this country as a Muslim, it's satisfying to see someone my age believes same beliefs as me who wants to make it more affordable in New York City. It's absolutely amazing to see.
What's most striking is that just over a year ago, when Mamdani announced his bid for mayor of New York City, his name recognition stood at barely 1%, and even his own team gave him no more than a 3% chance of winning. Yet his message and methods proved perfectly in tune with the nation's current political mood. He came across as relatable and authentic, someone who genuinely cared about people's everyday struggles. His campaign stood out for its bold visuals, viral social media videos, and humor.
Mamdani was able to win over voters in New York City, largely based on a message related to affordability and wanting to work to make the city a better place. In other words, a really locally based message to start off a campaign, and one he stuck with throughout the campaign that created a lot of enthusiasm, especially it seems to be the case among younger voters.
Some of the key points in his campaign included freezing rent for city-subsidized housing, lowering childcare costs, launching free bus services, and creating a network of affordable grocery stores. Mamdani also proposed an additional tax on individuals and businesses earning more than $1 million a year, a measure that particularly angered his critics. Because of these pledges, opponents branded Mamdani a radical communist, claiming his policies could ruin the city.
We have a communist who's 33 years old, doesn't know a damn thing. Practically, he's never worked a day in his life. And he sort of caught on, right? And I'm not going to send a lot of money to New York. I don't have to.
But the resistance was also coming from inside the House. Some lifelong Democrats were hesitant to endorse Zoran Mamdani. The party's establishment was uneasy about his socialist leanings and outspoken support for Palestinian independence. In recent years, Democrats have been working to appeal to moderate voters in smaller cities, a constituency unaccustomed to the kind of sharp rhetoric Mamdani has become known for. Yet his victory has been celebrated not only in New York, but around the world. Many analysts and politicians see it as a potential turning point in the American political landscape and are closely examining which of the strategies that proved successful for the Zoran for NYC campaign could be replicated in other cities and even beyond the United States.
I think the use of social media is exceptionally important. I do think there's another important caveat here, though. I feel like his win has already been undermined slightly by people saying it was a social media win, or indeed it's his authenticity that won it. Those are crucial ingredients. But let's be clear about what won this. What won this was the message on a focus on affordability, on inequality, and standing up for the needs of improving people's lives. Now, if you just have that without the message and without social media, then we know it doesn't cut through.
Mamdani was not the only triumphator this Tuesday. Mickey Sherrill won the gubernatorial race in New Jersey, defeating Republican Jack Ciattarelli. Meanwhile, Abigail Spanberger secured victory in Virginia, a swing state that often shifts between two rival parties. Thus, Democrats swept a trio of races in the first major election since Donald Trump regained the presidency, elevating a new generation of leaders and giving the beleaguered party a shot of momentum ahead of next year's congressional elections. The races also served as a test of differing Democratic campaign playbooks ahead of 2026, with the party locked out of power in Washington and still trying to forge a path into Congress majority. Yergali Ramazanule, New Time.
The mayoral election in New York has become one of the most talked about political events worldwide. For Central Asia and particularly for Kazakhstan, this topic is also relevant, as the country has launched a pilot project on electing local hakims. According to expert Iskander Akalbayev, this initiative comes at the right time, aligning with President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev's ongoing agenda of political reforms.
I think that any kind of mayor or hakim in Kazakhstan should have this expert community close to him that can be non-partisan and much more sincere in their recommendations. So it's very much important timing for us, to build up a new political culture of electing mayors from the elected. It's very much important. When it comes to civil servant and public communication, so Singapore is doing very amazing job. In US as well, the people and politically they are very much active, and that's why it's very much important to enlighten population about the new policies. People, the mayor and the candidates and the civil servant need to kind of do much more, a little bit marketing and PR, not on themselves, but on the policies that they integrate, why they import, how they're going to change that. This is a key factor, I think, how we need to improve the strategic communications between population and the government.
Last week, Donald Trump and Xi Jinping appeared to ease tensions over tariffs, offering a brief pause in the long-running economical rivalry. But as the dust settles and as the competition is intensifying, the global race for artificial intelligence supremacy. At the heart of it lies one of the world's most valuable resources, AI chips. Nations and corporations are vying for control over these tiny engines of innovation, turning technology into a new arena of global power. So, who will take the lead and what role could Kazakhstan play in this high-stake race? Let's find out in the next report.
Chips are at the heart of every modern technology, from cars and computers to even refrigerators. But why do these tiny plates mean so much not only to engineers, but also to politicians? Because some of them can be produced only by one company in a specific factory in Taiwan, known as TSMC. Due to many factors that are happening in the political arena, Taiwanese production become critically important for the rest of the world, including AI leader US. And the numbers prove it. More than half of the last year's global semiconductor supply came from Taiwan's TSMC.
For most of the manufacturing facilities that American economy outsources, and those facilities are based in China, and mainly they are based in Taiwan, as opposed to China, who are building their own computational capacity. And as we are reading news and we're hearing news from different sources, they are localizing this manufacturing, within their own country.
The number of companies involved in the chip manufacturing is small, yet none of them can function without the others. Let's take a look at the map. US-based firms mainly design chips, while Taiwan and South Korea handle the production. Japan supplies essential chemicals and materials, and countries like Netherlands, Japan, and the United States produce this sophisticated machinery used in fabrication. It's a deeply interconnected system, globalized and specialized at the same time. No single region can make chips entirely on its own.
I think it's difficult. That's why it's like this these days, and like we have that specific countries like focusing on certain area of these chips, and they like progressing and they collaborate in terms of like even our phones, like they like the glass produced in one place, like memories in different place, and processed in the third country and assembled in China.
And when we talk about progress in this industry, we cannot avoid mentioning Moore's law. It originally stated that the number of transistors placed on a chip roughly every 1.5 to 2 years, leading to exponential growth in performance. Today, the most advanced transistors nodes reach just 2 or 3 nanometers, thinner than a strand of DNA, but experts say now Moore's law is slowing down. This is especially true for artificial intelligence. AI workloads require extremely high-performing chips and customized hardware. The industry is now entering a new phase where innovation deepens on emerging technologies.
And with introduction of GPU, this was mainly for video rendering. Graphical processing units were used for videos, but one researcher he decided to accelerate the neural network using GPU, and this became a new era for neural networks. Since then, all the networks became deeper and deeper. So we can divide pre-GPU and GPU era for hardware.
China and the United States see semiconductors as a key battlefield in their technological rivalry. The US has restricted companies like NVIDIA from selling their most advanced AI chip, Blackwell. It will be reserved exclusively for domestic use, not for other people.
NVIDIA is really just a brilliant company. The chips are 10 years, the new Blackwell that just came out, it's 10 years ahead of every other chip. But there's nothing to meet with other than say, congratulations. But no, we don't give that chip to other people. We don't give that chip to other people.
Meanwhile, Kazakhstan is stepping deeper into the global AI race. The government is investing in research, supercomputing power, and local chip development. Just last month, the International Center for Artificial Intelligence opened its doors in Astana, a hub meant to unite scientists, startups, and industry. The supercomputer at Alam AI already operates on NVIDIA chips, and universities in Astana are testing their own prototype designs. On top of that, Kazakh scientists have developed a unique technology that accelerates microchip development, opening new possibilities for local production and shortening the period from concept to chip in hand.
Ученые Назарбаев университета совместно с стартапом Texer AI.
Scientists from Nazarbayev University, together with the startup Texer AI, have created the first Kazakhstani microchip. Another startup, via Uniblock, is also developing its own chip. In addition, a joint Kazakh-Chinese project for microchip production is now being launched in the city of Semey.
Создается совместный казахстанско-китайский проект для производства этих микрочипов.
To keep the momentum, experts believe Kazakhstan needs a long-term strategy. They suggest creating a national AI chips roadmap, a plan that would unite government, academia, and private companies, the way the United States and Europe already do. Only then, they say, the country can move from early prototypes to real mass production and secure its own place on a global AI industry. Almir Amirov, New Time.
The global race for artificial intelligence now extends far beyond major corporations. Small and medium-sized enterprises are also embracing the technology. In many countries, AI is becoming a key tool for business growth and competitiveness. For instance, South Korea stands out as one of the leaders in the transformation, where government initiatives and technological innovation are driving rapid progress in the small and medium-sized business sector.
Small and medium-sized businesses in South Korea use AI in two areas. First, they use AI to automate production process. Second, small and medium-sized businesses are not good at marketing, so they use AI market efficiently. However, the Korean government has launched a new policy to support more AI technologies in small and medium-sized businesses. In Korea, there is an AI platform developed by Naver called Clova X, so public public institutions and the government use Naver's Clova X, while private companies freely use ChatGPT and other AI platforms.
This year, a South Korean delegation visits Kazakhstan to launch the Digital Kazlorda project. The initiative aims to share Korea's experience with Kazakh counterparts in digitalization and demonstrate how they successfully integrate AI into business landscape.
The goal of Digital Kazlorda project is to educate local small business owners about digital transformation. In particular, many women and young entrepreneurs represent micro-businesses. We want them to digitalize and develop new skills. In fact, Korea has been implementing digital transformation based on small and micro-businesses for 5 years. We have successful cases and shared them during this event. And I also heard about the AI policies of the Kazakh government, which are really similar to those of Korea. Therefore, I believe that sharing successful experiences can create a joint opportunity for faster AI transformation.
In Astana this week, the 9th annual Media Week has kicked off. The forum traditionally brings together journalists and media experts from different countries to discuss the future of mass media in the digital era. This year's theme, Serving the Nation, Media's Mission. Participants focused on the most pressing topics in modern journalism, and artificial intelligence took the center stage. While journalists are already actively using various AI tools in their daily work, the human soul, the long seen as a heart of storytelling, remains irreplaceable.
Я думаю, в работе уже применяете и вопросы технологии искусственного интеллекта, и что скрывать, и элементы чата GPT. Но мы должны...
I believe many of you are already applying artificial intelligence technologies in your work, but as highlighted during the plenary session, nothing can replace the human soul or a deep study of social issues. Journalism must remain our intellectual bridge between the people and the state, reflecting public sentiment and building trust. And most importantly, as new technologies develop, we must not lose our core principles: accuracy, relevance, and human integrity.
Развитие новых технологий нам не нужно терять главные наши принципы. Это достоверность, актуальность и человеческое развитие.
Experts agree that AI tools can help journalists quickly search for information and generate texts. However, statistics warn that around 20% of AI-produced content may be inaccurate. Relying fully on technology still carries risks.
If we use a simple logic, okay, it's not a kind of nuclear physics. The artificial intelligence indeed will be needed, is needed, but at the same moment, it, at least according to my opinion, it cannot replace the journalist. It cannot replace the human being, because any form of artificial intelligence will be always depending on the information gathered from somewhere, from someone. And the someone is human being or the journalist. So logically, there always have to be some sort of symbiosis, let me put it this way.
That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week. That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.